and go. Recording in three, two, and one.
Blaxploitation film needs to have Blaxploitation music talked about, so we're doing an episode of that as well.
Yay, more music I don't know anything about.
Oh, come on.
Welcome to episode 199 of Nerdery Murdery.
Big 199. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows and the ups and the downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. The 199. Next week will be episode 200. 4 years that we've been on the air.
4 years, not missing a week.
We will have some guests on, some guestery.
Yes.
We've already got some scheduled. There may be more.
Hmm.
As I'm inviting people. But definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be a big episode, monster episode. I
Hmm.
expect that's probably going to run long,
Yeah, I hope
especially with
so.
the people we have on there
Yes.
that get crazy with us.
Hmm.
So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really good, a lot of fun. Really excited for that. Um, I've given a shout out to my friend Chuck before, and I'm going to give him a shout out right now because I
What's
know
up, Chuck?
he's listening and falling asleep. I've told him he's got to stop telling people that. He tells people, he goes, "Oh yeah, I listen to their show. It helps me fall asleep." I'm like, you understand that's not a good thing.
That sucks for us, Chuck.
Um, he says it soothes him, it calms him, and then he turns around and he listens to it again in the morning.
Oh, nice.
So
We
I
have
totally
smooth, calming
I
voices.
had to give him shit on that. But another shout out to his friend. Uh, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right. I believe it's Cesar.
Cesar?
Um, Cesar. I believe he said it was Cesar, but he turned him on to the show, and
Oh,
Cesar
cool.
told him, "Oh my God, I'm addicted."
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's really cool. So Cesar, hope you're listening. That's really awesome. Glad to have you as a listener. Uh,
He's addicted. We are crack on the airwaves.
well, I don't know. Chuck's asleep by now, so
Oh, oh, well, maybe sleepy pills in the air, right? I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking now.
Chelsea was in a ladies tournament, golf tournament last week. She came in fourth.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's right.
really
She
good.
sure did.
I got to be a caddy for a weekend.
Yes.
That was that was fun and a lot of work. Caddy work is a lot of work.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I did that. Just it was a lot of fun. So much fun. So much fun. And then sometime after it was over on Sunday, I decided to go home because I was tired. I had things I needed to do. Chelsea stayed at the club. Tuesday, I go out on the golf course with Chuck,
Hmm.
and we get to the first tee box, and I go to my bag and I reach for my driver, and I was like, "Where the fuck is my driver?
I've heard this.
Why is Chelsea Sevenwood where my driver should go?" And I look at her bag. There's no driver, and it hits me. It went missing Sunday because that's the only time it could have been because the golf cart's in the garage on all day Monday, all day Tuesday. Um, and I'm just like, one of these fuckers took my golf club. I was mad. I was hot. I was so mad, and I figured somebody probably took it accidentally, but still, my driver was gone. My one of my favorite clubs. Um, and I used Chelsea's driver on Tuesday 'cause she wasn't golfing with me. It was just me and Chuck. I used her driver, and Chuck told me, he goes, "Hate to tell you this, but you drive better with her club than yours." Um,
Thanks, Chuck.
on Wednesday, I used her old driver, um, which I wasn't doing really well on. Number one, it's a different her old driver is a different degree than mine, and it's only a difference of 1.5 degrees. You don't think that would make a major difference, but it does. It changes how you hit the ball. So I was not having a good time on Wednesday. I wasn't driving real well. And a lady joined us on about 4 or 5, just kind of came up, started talking with us and whatnot. And on 6, she decided she was just going to drop her ball on the putting green, take some putting shots with us, and then she'd play on with us after that. So she goes to grab her putter and she goes, "Whose club is this?" And we all look. Well, that would be mine.
You got your golf club back.
Yes, I got my driver back. She has no clue how it got there. Um, I think the state of inebriation of people on that Sunday after the tournament was pretty large. So
You're
yeah.
just throwing clubs in bags.
Well, they all went out and they played what they call a hot nine after they were all drinking quite a bit. So I'm sure a club just got swapped, but it was really funny because she's just like, "How did that get in my bag?"
I
So it was
don't know.
it was hysterical. I was so happy because I told Chelsea, I said, "I'm giving it till Friday. If my club
Hmm.
doesn't show up, understand I'm going to buy a new one."
Hmm.
So glad it showed up. And the next opportunity I had to drive with it was on 8, and I took it out, and I just absolutely bombed that ball. And I went, "Yeah, I'm sleeping with this club from now on."
Right on.
Um, did I tell you about the little keto lunches I've been making? So
Yes.
we're
What
we're
were you
trying to
taking?
be low carb. Got my little chicken balls, which I teased Chelsea. I said, "Hey, you need to come look at my balls."
Look at my
Uh,
balls. You
but
would taste my balls.
yeah,
They're quite tasty.
you should really try these. These are really good. The chicken balls, I take canned chicken,
Hmm.
put in an egg, cup of cheddar cheese, and a little bit of ranch seasoning, and I mix that up, roll them into balls, roll them in ground up pork rinds and Parmesan,
Hmm.
and then air fry them for 20 minutes on
Hmm.
400, flipping them once. They're so good.
Hmm.
The other ones I made, I took these
Was that the
jalapeno.
jalapeno ones?
Yes.
Yeah, those look
Took
pretty good.
jalapenos. I
He
put
sent me
I put
pictures. I was like, oh, that looks fucking delicious.
put cheese in the middle of them, wrapped them in ground beef, and then wrapped bacon around that, and then air fried those for 30 minutes. Those were outstanding. I made some more last night, but instead of ground beef, I encased them in ground chicken.
Hmm.
I can't wait
Are
to
they
try
better
these
with
things.
chicken?
I don't know. I
Or,
haven't tried them yet.
okay.
I just made them last night, but they turn out so good. And there's like no carbs in it,
Hmm.
so really really good. I'm very happy
Good
about
fresh
that.
ingredients. I mean, uh, that's the thing. We eat a lot of processed foods. If you just take some of the processing out, I mean, granted, you got canned chicken, but it's basically just chicken.
Hmm.
And, and you use, whole jalapenos and bacon and chicken stuff like that, and just regular cheese.
Hmm.
It's so much better for you, and it tastes great.
Yeah. And our Sam's down here started selling jalapenos in bulk, and they're huge jalapenos too. And so
Oh
I'm
yeah. Well, that's
getting
where they
those from
grow them
Sam's.
all.
Do they?
Yeah, they grow them all down there.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You and I were talking about that not too long ago about I was talking about that our fruit down here just doesn't seem to last very long.
Hmm.
Was talking to
It
Sarah
surprises
Ann.
me.
Well, I was talking to Sarah Ann, one of my friends down here. She's very uh her job. She does uh uh horticulture, agriculture, things like that. That's
Hmm.
that's what she does. She's big on that. But I was talking to her about that, and she said we actually don't get our fruit from here. Um, it comes from here, it goes to Houston, and then comes back here. That seems weird.
You ain't got a farmer's market down there.
Not that I'm aware of. There might be, but it's
Yeah,
just
there's
it's
there's
just
not a
kind of.
dude on the side of the road selling watermelons and shit.
Oh, I'm sure as you get closer to Mexico, there is. But it's just weird. Why would they ship them to Houston and then back down here?
Back to here. That
It
makes
doesn't
no
make any sense.
sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me. So stupid. My sister's coming to town this week. I'm really excited. My sister, her husband, and my bonus mom will all be here on
Nice,
Thursday. I'm very excited about that.
nice, nice.
Um, they get to see that there's really not that much to do down here. Um, if you don't golf, I'll probably
That's that's why you took up golfing.
yeah, I'll probably take them out to the island
Yeah,
just so they can see that. They're not really big into the beach, but just to see the island because Padre Island's good. And luckily, spring break ended last week, so I don't have to deal with the
nice.
spring break at Padre Island. So,
Padre.
what you got going on?
Well, yesterday, Lorelai had a choir concert, and last night we took her to see her first folk punk show. We took her to see the Violent Femmes.
Yeah, you were saying that. Do I know any of their songs?
Yeah, you do. You know
Do
their
I?
first, yeah, yeah. Like, so they played their first album, and their second album in entirety. A lot of people don't know the stuff off their second album, which is Hallowed Ground. But like I guarantee you know their first album. That's Added Up, Kiss Off, Gone Daddy Gone, um,
No, no, I know Blister in the Sun. I don't know
Blister
Kiss
in the
Off.
Sun.
I don't know Gone Daddy Gone.
You know Added Up.
No,
Yeah, why can't I get it? Just one kiss. Why can't I get it? Just one kiss. Believe me, I know what it's the first
no,
time I ever heard fuck on a record.
no. Blister in the Sun, that's the only one I know. I don't know
But
any of their
yeah,
other songs.
they're uh, they're great, and their second album is real experimental, and they do a bunch of like a lot of people didn't get it because they did like a couple of gospel songs. They were doing like older music and experimenting with older instruments.
Hmm.
So it's really beautifully musically, and we got there a few minutes late. Kids, if you go to see the Violent Femmes, get there early because they start on time. Matter of fact, they even have a song where they talk about how they start on time. They started at 8 o'clock. They played till about 10:30 and then they were done.
Hmm.
And it was just them. There was no opener, nothing.
Really?
Yeah. They played the two albums, then they played a song, I Want to Hold You in My Arms, which is off The Blind Leading the Naked, which is off their third album.
Hmm.
And then they played American Music, which is off of Why Do Birds Sing, which is like their sixth album.
Cool.
Um, and then they shut it down. But yeah, I had a 10-year-old who was all over it. She's like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing ever!" Just jumping up and down and scream singing. I don't know how, there's a line in American music. I did too many drugs. Did you do too many drugs? It's weird to hear that from a 10-year-old, but she was having a good time. So
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. All right. Anything else you got? Or are you ready to take it off on the nerdy side of the house?
I am ready to talk about the nerdery side of the house.
Groovy, do it to it.
Okay, so we were talking about Blaxploitation cinema in the last two episodes.
Were we?
Yes, we were.
Did we? Was
Eh,
I there?
yes, you were.
You sure?
Um, yes, and then we
Okay.
talked about how we also really kind of needed to do one on the music for Blaxploitation cinema because the music is as much part of the film as anything else. So we're going to talk about, in my humble opinion, the top 10. Not all of them are films that we cover, but they're the top 10. So as we know, Blaxploitation cinema is a film subgenre of action movies derived from exploitation film genre in the early 1970s, consequent to the combination of cultural movements, the Black Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement and the Black Panther Party, political and sociological circumstances that facilitated Black artists reclaiming the power of representation in cinema. It is a portmanteau of the word black and exploitation. But again, all movies are exploitation movies now. So I wanted to cover 10 songs. Um, the 10 songs are Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack, Pusher Man by Curtis Mayfield, Down and Out in New York City by James Brown, Ain't That Mellow by Willie Hutch, Theme to Shaft by Isaac Hayes, Battle Scene by Grant Green, uh, Keep on Moving by Martha Reeves, Cool Breeze by Solomon Burke, A Piece of the Action by Mavis Staples, and Little Ghetto Boy by Donny Hathaway.
I know one of these songs.
Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack. Robert Dwayne Womack, or Bobby Womack, was an American singer, songwriter, and guitarist starting in the early 1950s as the lead singer of the family musical group The Valentinos and as Sam Cooke's backing guitarist. Womack's career spanned more than 60 years in multiple styles, including R&B, blues, doo-wop, gospel, funk, and soul. The single was released in February of 1973 on the United Artists label, credited Bobby Womack and Peace, who had a previous hit with Harry Hippie. It was composed by Bobby Womack and J.J. Johnson. Its B-side was Hang On In There, composed by Bobby Womack. The March 31st issue of Billboard reported it was his fourth hit in a year for the week ending in May 5th, 1973. With the single in the 6 week chart position, the Billboard best-selling soul singles chart showed the single was in position 24, with previous week's position being 19. Meanwhile, the chart showed that the album is in its 14th week, maintained its position at 15. So it did pretty well. What did you think about Across 110th Street? This is my favorite Blaxploitation cinema song.
Once again, I know one song on this list. This is not one of them.
You had a playlist.
I know. I know I
Did you
did.
listen to it?
No,
No.
I was bad.
Okay.
Which is why I'm going to go back to my comment. I know one song on this playlist.
All right. So across 110th Street, it's funk, it's soul, it's a little jazz. A lot of these songs are that way. There's a lot of there's a lot of jazz feel to it. And there's a lot of Waka Waka guitars. So if you like Waka Waka guitars, this is the sound you're looking for. 1970s cool dudes walking down the street with Waka Waka guitars playing behind them. This is what they're talking about. The next one is Pusher Man by Curtis Mayfield from the film Superfly. Um, Curtis Mayfield was an American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and record producer dubbed the Gentle Genius. He is considered one of the most influential musicians of soul and socially conscious African American music. Mayfield first achieved success and recognition with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inducted vocal groups The Impressions during the Civil Rights Movement in the late 50s and 60s, and later worked as a solo artist. Superfly is the third studio album by Curtis Mayfield. It was released on July 11th, 1972 by Custom Records. It was released as a soundtrack for the Blaxploitation film of the same name. Um, this song was a big hit, as well as a theme song to Superfly and Freddy's Dead. All three were big pop chart hits as well as R&B hits. Um, Superfly, along with Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, was one of the pioneering soul concept albums, with its then unique socially aware lyrics and poverty and drug abuse making the album stand out. The film and the soundtrack may be perceived as dissonant since the film holds rather ambiguous views on drug dealers, whereas Curtis Mayfield's position is far more critical. Like What's Going On, the album was a surprise hit that record executives felt had little chance at significant sales. Due to its success, Mayfield was tapped for several film soundtracks over the course of the decade. Um, I could have put Superfly on here. I could have put Freddy's Dead on here. The reason I put Pusher Man on here is because in my humble opinion, Pusher Man's the better song. It- but it's like a lot of things. I like Pusher Man a skosh more than Freddy's Dead, and I like Freddy's Dead a skosh more than Superfly. But all
Hmm.
three are great songs. It's good. It's just a good funk, soul kind of thing. And the thing I like best about it for R&B music, um, you don't really. There's not really a big um, leaning on the guitar. That's more of a rock and roll thing, right? It's more basically all the parts working together.
Hmm.
Not in the case of Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield is like Prince. He's just a great musician. And his guitar work is phenomenal. Um, just ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da. And he's making that guitar sing and whine, and it's just beautiful. Um, but yeah, Pusher Man is um, there's some lyrics that are, a
Questionable.
little less than PC right now, but it was recorded in 1972.
Mhm.
A couple of words I wouldn't sing out loud. You know what I mean? Um, about a dude in the alley, but we're not going to say what he called the dude. Um, but again, it's a banging tune. Um, the next one is Down and Out in New York City, by James Brown from the film Black Caesar. James Brown was an American singer, dancer, and musician, the central progenitor of funk music, and a major figure of the 20th century music. He is referred to by the various nicknames, among them Mr. Dynamite, the hardest working man in show business, minister of the new super heavy funk, godfather of soul, king of soul, and soul brother number one. In a career that lasted more than 50 years, his influence and development of several music genres. Brown has one of the first was one of the first 10 inductees in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Black Caesar is a soundtrack album recorded by James Brown for the film of the same name and released in 1973. The album also features the JBs and Lynn Collins's Um, how do I say this? I love James Brown anyway. But in the early 70s, he was working with some younger musicians. He got rid of a bunch because people don't like to work with James Brown because he's kind of an asshole to work with.
He seems like he would be.
He was. Um, but like some of his longtime uh, collaborators left. Well, he was looking for a drummer, a bass player. So he grabbed these two cousins out of say like Macon, Georgia, or something like that. One of them was the bass player was Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins played with
Oopsie.
James Brown. Yeah, played with James Brown for about 2 years before he joined up with um, the P Funk and George Clinton. And
Hmm.
honestly, a lot of people say George Clinton's an asshole to work with. Bootsy's like, oh, George Clinton's way better than James Brown. I like George, but Bootsy only played with James Brown for a couple of years. But one of those years he played with him, they made Black Caesar, and you can hear it. It is incredible. It is this funk, soul, jazz masterpiece. And James Brown is at the top of his game. Um, I, the movie Black Caesar, it's all right. I've seen it a couple of times. We even talked about it. I've seen it a couple of times. It may not necessarily be my favorite. Fred Williams is great in it, but I mean, the soundtrack kind of helps make that movie. And Down and Out New York City is one of those tunes. James Brown's just singing the shit out of it. Um, the next one is Ain't That Mellow by Willie Hutch from Foxy Brown. Um, Willie Hutch was basically like a studio musician and singer,
Hmm.
and they just kind of tagged him to do this. And this was his only real big hit, but oh my God, it's beautiful. Um, and again, it's Funk's masterpiece. It's on Foxy Brown, which was an AIP picture, which is not a big picture. But this soundtrack went nuts. But Willie Hutch didn't really do much after that. That's why I don't have a whole lot of notes on it.
Didn't we do an episode over AIP?
Yeah.
I
Well, we
thought
talked
so.
about Roger Corman. He worked with AIP a lot.
That's right. Thank you. Knew it was in my head somewhere.
And you guys are gonna have to I have to apologize for my gruff voice. I was scream singing with a 10-year-old last night. But yeah, that Willie Hutch tune is just, oh my God, it's amazing. But it's one of those things, it's like, oh, it's kind of a one-hit wonder, but my God, it's a good hit. The next one is the theme to Shaft by Isaac Hayes.
Hey, the song
Uh,
I know.
what do you think about this song?
Chef is a great song. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a funky song, and I I think everybody our age knows Chef.
Shaft. Yeah, yeah.
Talk about
Shaft.
Chef.
Dude, you talk about Shaft. Isaac Hayes was one of the creative forces behind the Southern Soul music label,
Chef.
Stax Records. Chef, yeah, serving as an in-house songwriter with his partner David Porter, as well as session musician and record producer. Hayes and Porter were inducted into the Songwriter Hall of Fame in 2005. So yeah, Isaac Hayes was mostly a songwriter for Stax
Hmm.
um, back in the day, and honestly, a lot of people are like, "Yeah, Motown's great." No, man, Motown was all right. Motown was good. Stax was on a whole other level, and the amount of great music that was coming out of there it is incomparable. You got Wilson Pickett, you got Isaac Hayes, you can Aretha Franklin, that's who's coming out of that. Yeah, they'd go and work with um, Motown, but honestly, the really good stuff is coming out of Stax. Um, Marvin Gaye also went down to Stax to record "Make Me Want to Holler" in Inner City Blues. Um, but so they basically Metro MGM approached Isaac Hayes and said, "Hey, we're going to do a Blaxploitation film like Sweet Sweetback." And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I got that. What's the guy's name?" It's like, "We're calling him Shaft." And he's like, "Oh yeah, 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 I got this." And he basically sat down and wrote Shaft. And originally he called Shaft one bad motherfucker.
Hmm.
But he's like, "Oh yeah, I can't put that on a record." So it's like, Shaft's one bad mother. Shut your mouth, oh baby. I'm just talking about Shaft. But it was one of those it was one of those pieces that just is a touchstone. And again, like you said, everybody knows Shaft.
Hmm. Well, I mean, just that phrase "shut your mouth," just talking about Shaft, has been used in TV shows and
Mhm.
movies.
Shut your mouth, oh baby.
I
I'm just
mean,
talking about
hell,
Shaft.
Fox Mulder said it in X-Files.
The next one is Battle Scene by Grant Green in the final come down.
And
Um,
I saw Battle Scene, and all I could think of was Flash Gordon.
no, no, no.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
different battlefield. But it is honestly most of the songs on here are funk. This is a straight up jazz tune. And there's no singing in it. It's it's off of Blue Note Records. He was both a leader and a sideman. Green performed in hard bop, soul jazz, bebop, and Latin tinged idioms throughout his career. Um, he often performed with an organ trio, a small group featuring a Hammond organ, drummer. And he also liked to work with Charlie Parker when he could get Charlie Parker standing up. But it is really just it's a jazz track, and the final come down soundtrack um, is just basically all jazz. But it's really good, and that guitar work is analogous to funk guitar.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things you really need to sit down and listen to it. It's a nice piece. And the way I put it in this list, it's a perfect break. Um, from some of the funk. I would recommend you guys just listening to the list. It's pretty awesome.
Yes,
The
unlike I did. I was busy. I'm sorry.
it's all right. I get it. The next one is "Keep on Moving" by Martha Reeves from the film Willie Dynamite. Martha Reeves is an American R&B and pop singer. She's best known for being the lead singer of Motown girl group Martha and the Vandellas, which scored over a dozen hits. And she is, from Detroit. Martha started out in the secretary pool, and they heard her singing, and they put her on a record. Um, but they actually tagged her for to sing the song "Keep on Moving" for Willie Dynamite. J.J. Johnson composed and produced the soundtrack, but they were like, "Hey, we need to get somebody really good. We want someone with a soft voice." So they got Martha Reeves. The next one is "Cool Breeze" by Solomon Burke from the film Cool Breeze.
I just like that name.
Solomon,
No, Cool Breeze.
Cool Breeze,
I just like that name.
Cool
I like that
Breeze,
title, I guess I should say.
Cool Breeze. He was an American singer who shaped the sound of rhythm and blues. Solomon Burke started early. He was like our late 50s, early 60s guy. Um, but they tagged him to to do the soundtrack for Cool Breeze, which is a 1972 American blaxploitation heist film, directed and co-written by Barry Pollock and starred Thalamus Rosales. It was released by MGM. The film was loosely based on W.R. Burnett's 1949 novel, The Asphalt Jungle. So it's basically a take on a Asphalt Jungle. Um, so they kind of grabbed Solomon Burke because again, he was an old 1960 or not early 1960s, late 1950s guy. Um, some of that sweet soul stuff. And I'm like, hey, do you want to do one of these? So he did it. But what's cool about Solomon Burke's cover this, the song's only like 3 minutes long. Solomon Burke doesn't come in until like the first minute. So there's a lot of instrumental on it. And it has a nice slow build up. I
Hmm.
really like it. And you get to Solomon's just kind of almost talk singing over it, but it's real understated and muted. Like he wanted the music to be or the instrumentation to be the star of that song, and it really, really works. The next one is a piece of the action from the film A Piece of the Action by Mavis Staple. Mavis Staple is an American rhythm, blues, and gospel singer and civil rights activist. She rose to fame as a member of her family's band, the Staple Singers, of which she is the last surviving member. During her time in the group, she recorded the hit singles I'll Take You There and Let's Do It Again. In 1969, Staples released her first self-titled debut solo album. Um, A Piece of the Action was a soundtrack album by Mavis Staples. She was contacted uh, by the producers through Curtin Records to do the soundtrack because, again, they wanted a nice, sweet, uplifting voice for A Piece of the Action because they felt like that was the way it it needed to go. Piece of the Action is a what Bill Cosby Sidney Poitier film. Um, some of the comedy Blaxploitation cinema
Hmm.
we got kind of in the late 70s. This used to play on late night on television a lot when I was a kid. A couple of guys who work in a shipping yard who basically get a chance to get in on the action. Um, but it's great. The last song on the list is Little Ghetto Boy by Donny Hathaway from the film Come Back Charleston Blue. Donny Hathaway was an American soul singer, keyboardist, songwriter, backing vocalist, and arranger who Rolling Stone described as a soul legend. His most popular song includes The Ghetto, This Christmas, Someday We'll All Be Free, and Little Ghetto Boy. Yeah, In the Ghetto is actually originally Donny Hathaway.
In the
Yeah,
ghetto.
see, I know that one. I knew you. I was like, oh
I
wait,
do
this
know,
is
but I only know Eric Cartman's version.
this
In
is
the
actually
ghetto.
this is a Little Ghetto Boy. Hathaway is also renowned for his rendition of a song for you and for all we know,
Wait a
and I
minute,
love
why
you more.
why did I
More
not
than
think that this was an Elvis Presley song?
Elvis Presley did do it, but he covered it's a
Okay,
well. This is a different one.
okay,
This is not the Ghetto. This is Little Ghetto Boy.
okay. Thank you.
Um, Donny Hathaway. Um, there was a Dutch film director. For some reason, Donny Hathaway is really big in Europe, particularly in the Netherlands. He just he there's something that he does that just is picked up in the Dutch ear. That he wasn't really big over here. But they made a documentary about him called Mr. Soul, a story about Donny Hathaway. And it's really big in the Netherlands because of his work. And again, I'm not saying he wasn't big over here, but he was not necessarily underground, but he was definitely on the soul circuit. He never like broke into the pop scene. Um, it's a soul song. Little Ghetto Boy is a soul song composed by Earl DeRune and Edward Howard and first recorded in 1971 by Donny Hathaway for his 1972 live album. The song also appeared on the Comeback Charleston Blues soundtrack later that year, where they recorded him in studio. Because originally it was released live. 43 years later, the song was then covered by Hathaway's daughter, Lila Hathaway, on her 2015 live album. The cover was then remixed in January 2016 under the title Ghetto Boy, with a guest appearance from Snoop Dogg and Robert Glasper, and was released by E1 Music. So basically, Donny Hathaway kind of died in obscurity. And his daughter was up and running and getting stuff going. And everybody loved that song from back in the day because Come Back Charleston Blue is kind of well regarded in the blaxploitation cinema genre. So a lot of these guys basically got together and made sure that uh, Lila uh, was able to capitalize on some of her father's stuff. Because again, he wasn't that big over here. He was big in the Netherlands.
I
Um,
actually stopped listening to you for a minute and I pulled up the song just to listen to a sample of it. That's a cool song. I like that.
all of these songs are like that. Yeah, Little Ghetto Boy. Well, what do you think?
I like the little snippet I heard. I like it.
Yeah, a lot of these songs are that way. I would honestly say the weakest song on this list is Shaft.
But that's the one most people know.
I know, and I'm not even saying it's a weak song. I'm saying it's the weakest song on this list.
Well, and listen, I mean, the little snippet I listened from Little Ghetto Boy just a second ago, um, that song there sounds like a lot of the music that came out of Luke Cage.
Yes, I imagine a lot of these songs were in Luke Cage.
Hmm.
And like I said, I pulled when we were doing the blaxploitation cinema. I was like, okay, no, I need to put this movie in. I need to put this movie in. We probably need to do some music for him too. So when I got all that compiled together, I was like, okay, I know I need to put this song in. I know I need to put this song in. And I was like looking and researching. It's like, hey, blaxploitation cinema music. If you're gonna do it, you need to talk about this song. And I'm like, oh, I know that song. Oh my God. And then the other thing, it Paul, my old roommate Paul, or the stepchild soul, who is also a singer in a local band, was really big on the Black Caesar. He's like, I never understood why this was not as big as Superfly because it was James Brown. It should have been twice as big. Um, but I mean, that used to play in our apartment all the time. So, and I started looking at lists and things. It's like, if you're going to do it, you have to talk about this and you have to talk about this. So that's basically how I compile this out. There's probably 10 or 20 more songs I could have put in here, but I was like, we need to do since we've done top 10 blaxploitation films, we need to do top 10 blaxploitation songs. And if we do this again, I'll have a whole new list because I've got a whole other list.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of it. Like I said, the only one that's really kind of jarring is the jazz piece, Battle Scene by Grant Green and the Final Come Down. But honestly, the where I placed it in the list, it's perfect. Um, it comes out right after Shaft and right before Keep On Moving by Martha Reeves, which is it's got more of a Motown. Keep On Moving has more of a Motown feel to it. And then Cool Breeze by Solomon Burke, which is Sweet Soul. A Piece of the Action by Mavis Staples, which is again more Sweet Soul, and the Little Ghetto Boy by Donny Hathaway. Just back to back to back. So again, we'll go across the list again. It's Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack from the film Across 110th Street. Pusher Man by Curtis Mayfield from the film Superfly. Down and Out New York City by James Brown from the film Black Caesar. Ain't That Mellow by Willie Hutch from Foxy Brown. Theme to Shaft by Isaac Hayes from the film Shaft. Battle Scene by Grant Green from the film The Final Come Down. Keep On Moving by Martha Reeves by the film Willie Dynamite. Cool Breeze by Solomon Burke from the film Cool Breeze. A Piece of the Action by Mavis Staples from the film A Piece of the Action. And Little Ghetto Boy by Donny Hathaway from the film Come Back Charleston Blue. I just want to make sure that I put all the credits where the credits needed to be because I'm not sure if I did all of that when we were talking about them. But that's basically it for top 10 blaxploitation cinema. This is not just my list. I I started hitting people up and going on billboards and things like that to see what everybody thought. And my God, this is some good stuff. I mean, really, really good stuff. And
I'm
it's
not
all
even
from that very narrow blaxploitation film
and
window.
I'm not even finding Battle Scene. I'm seeing the Final Come Down, but I'm not seeing Battle Scene.
Battle.
I'm looking through the list. Yeah, no, I'm seeing The Final Come Down. I'm just not seeing Battle Scene by Grant Green. At least not in Spotify.
Yeah, well, it is in our list. And honestly, I had to get it off of the there's like a video of it. It's basically just a shot of the album cover.
Huh. What album?
The Final Come Down.
The Final Come Down. Okay. Huh.
Again, he's a jazz guy, so I'm not that doesn't surprise me that it's not necessarily easy to find.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even jazz though shows up on Spotify. I don't know. That's interesting. I'll have to find that one. I'll find that one and look it up. So awesome. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Sorry I failed you, but
You're fine.
is what it is.
You're fine. It gave some controversy. Sometimes we need that in our episode.
It's just failure on my part.
No, 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 no.
All right. With that, we will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off Wikipedia, Medium, and The Independent, and this is the murder of Hannah Cornelius.
Hannah Cornelius.
So this takes place in Stellenbosch, which is a town in the Western Cape province of South Africa.
Okay.
It's roughly 1 hour from Cape Town, and Stellenbosch, or Stellies, as the locals affectionately refer to it. It's known for its natural beauty and its deep-rooted history and culture. Despite its heritage, though, Stellenbosch is a university town and has retained a very youthful vibe.
Okay.
A family living in the town, in the town where Cornelius is, consisting of William and Anna Cornelius, and their two children, a 21-year-old University of Stellenbosch student named Hannah, and their young autistic son. Um, his name has never been released to the media, and everything I
Mhm.
looked up, they've kept his name out, so I have no clue what his name is. When Hannah's brother had been born, she was said to have actively taken part of his management. She was always willing to share duties surrounding his care and had a say in decisions that were in his best interest. She was particularly close to her younger brother and fiercely protective of him. Hannah's parents had noticed something different about her as a baby. She never fussed, she never cried, she never had issues while feeding, no teething difficulties. In fact, the first time she had cried without an obvious reason, her parents were so alarmed that they called the family doctor in the middle of the night, who informed them she was just having her first tantrum.
Uh-huh.
As she grew into a teenager, she never rebelled and she excelled throughout all of her time in school. She was a girl who cared deeply for others, even once sitting her parents down to inform them she would no longer be attending church, as she believed it did not make provision for her Muslim friends to go to heaven. At 16, she declined birthday presents, insisting that her conscience would not allow her to accept gifts when there were children living in poverty. And instead, she made up gift packs for underprivileged children, which was an act she carried out on subsequent birthdays. Once she enrolled in the University of Stellenbosch, Hannah informed her parents to their dismay she had no intent in following her father's footsteps and studying law. Instead, she wanted to study languages, literature, and philosophy, and her intentions were also to study in France for a year. She was described as a young and a happy woman. Hannah had many friends, and her social media presence did reflect this. Her pages were filled with images of her family, friends, beach adventures, camping trips, and her beloved two cats, Mimi and Matisse. So, May 27th, 2017, which was a Saturday, that evening, Hannah enjoyed spending time with a fellow student, 21-year-old Cheslin Marsh. Cheslin shared a similar demeanor to Hannah. He was hardworking and a kind soul, and while the pair shared no romantic feelings, they were very close friends. They were both second-year students at the university, and they were very excited for what their future had to offer. And after a long week of studying and attending classes, they had made plans to round off the week with an evening of drinks. The night had gone smoothly, and by the end of it, Hannah offered Cheslin a ride home in her blue and white Volkswagen City Golf, which was a gift from her grandmother. Excuse me. Cheslin gratefully accepted the offer, and just after 3 a.m., they headed home. Just 23 minutes later, CCTV had captured Hannah parked up on a small patch of grass outside of Cheslin's home. The two were chatting. They said their goodbyes, but they failed to notice that there was a gang of four men that walked by. Unknown to the oblivious two, they had not just become the, or they had just become the targets for a very cruel and twisted attack. The men were undetected, and they decided to circle back around and approach Hannah's vehicle. With a sharp thud on the back of the window, Hannah and Cheslin's feelings of security were very suddenly dashed. Armed with a screwdriver and a flick knife, one of the men held a weapon to Hannah's chest through the open window before forcing themselves into the vehicle. Almost immediately, Cheslin was robbed of his cash, jacket, earrings, and phone, and Hannah's purse and phone were also taken by the men. At 3:37 a.m., the CCTV captured one of the men, later identified as 29-year-old Nashville Julius, leaving the car. His role was to stalk and secure a random vehicle, which left the other three men to partake in the events that were coming. The remaining men were later identified as 27-year-old Geraldo Parsons, 28-year-old Eben Van Niekerk, and 33-year-old Vernon Whitboy. So meanwhile, inside of Hannah's vehicle, she had been crammed into the seat well of the front seat, where Vernon and Geraldo now sat. Cheslin was pinned in the back by Eben. And throughout the entirety of the ordeal, Cheslin was desperately trying to reassure Hannah that everything would be okay and pleading with her to stay calm. Within minutes, the CCTV showed Hannah's vehicle being driven away into the night with all five individuals still in the car. The next sighting would come over an hour later at 4:34 a.m. This time, Hannah's vehicle was caught on camera pulling into a Caltex gas station on the corner of Bottlery Road, just outside of Stellenbosch. Here, there was a still from the footage which appears to show Hannah motionless and looking blankly ahead in the passenger seat. By this point, Cheslin had already been forced into the trunk of the car, leaving Hannah alone with the three men. Cameras inside the store captured Vernon attempting to use Cheslin's bank card at an ATM to withdraw cash, but after multiple attempts, the PIN that Cheslin had provided had proven to be incorrect. Later on, they would make Cheslin pay for this mistake. They then left the gas station. The men made multiple stops at the homes of drug dealers, even stopping at one home to smoke crystal meth before heading in the direction of Crayfontein. Man, that's a difficult word. After being driven around aimlessly for hours, at 5 a.m., Hannah and Cheslin were offered a glimmer of hope when the kidnappers claimed they would take them home. They told Hannah they would use her car to drive themselves home before allowing her to leave. After driving Hannah and Cheslin to a remote area, the three men parked and removed Cheslin from the trunk. His final memory was of the men holding bricks. He closed his eyes and began to pray, and they began a heinous attack that beat him around the head and left him for dead on the side of the road. Miraculously, later he would regain consciousness. He attempted to enter the sliding door of the first home he had saw, but was chased away by the owners. The residents called the police, and Cheslin was taken to a hospital and treated for a broken arm and deep head wounds.
Yeah, you imagine that. We're gonna call the police. Call the fucking
Yeah,
police.
absolutely.
Call the fucking police. Good. Call them. Look, I'm scary. Ah, call the cops.
The attack did leave him with permanent loss of hearing in his left ear.
Yeah.
His only concern, though,
He's
even
damn lucky that's all that
oh yeah,
happened to him.
oh absolutely.
They beating him in the head. Three dudes beating him in the head with bricks. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he damn lucky.
They did say at the hospital, though, his only concern, even through his injuries, was whether Hannah was still alive. Sadly, though, he would learn hours later that Hannah's body had been found dumped along the roadside. She had been brutalized and murdered. Between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m., Hannah had been driven to a secluded paintball site on Bottle Ray Road, where she was subjected to a repeated and vicious sex attack by the three men. They were also pressuring her to take crystal meth and cannabis with them. After the assault, she was driven a further 12 miles to a farm road where the gang claimed they had planned to leave her alive until she put up a fight. The men stabbed Hannah in the neck before dropping a 2 foot, 82-pound rock on top of her head twice, completely crushing her skull.
Yeah.
And after they killed her, they took her car and they drove away. At 8:20 a.m., two workers who had been working on a borehole the previous day had noticed the area was not how they had left it. They caught sight of Hannah's body, and
Oh,
they
God
believed,
damn it.
yeah, well, and they thought she
Cool.
was a mannequin,
Yeah,
never a mannequin.
it's never a mannequin, folks. But can you
No.
imagine? It's like, oh hey, yeah, we gotta go back up to the because they do lots of boreholes because they have water problems in Cape Town. Right?
Hmm.
Not a lot of fresh water, so they do boreholes to me because there's aquifers down there. Can you imagine? You're like, okay, we're gonna get this done and get this borehole done, and oh look, there's a mannequin. Oh fuck!
I know.
What a great day that is.
Well, when they got closer, they saw that Hannah's jeans were pulled down. There were bruises on her knees, legs, and arms from the strong grip of the men who had killed her. After taking Hannah's life, the men continued their crime spree. Their next victim had been a woman walking to work in Cray Crayfontein.
Very fun
We'll go with
team.
that.
Yeah.
They chased her down. They stole her bag and phone before driving away. And
Problem
by
with
one, Mhm.
the problem with South Africa is some of it's German, some of it's uh uh native Bantu languages,
Mhm.
some of it's Dutch, some of it's English, some of it's French, and a lot of times all that shit gets mixed together. So it's
Sure.
real hard to figure out. It's
Yeah.
it's some of it's Hossa.
Well, I mean, that town is spelled Kraaifontein.
Yeah,
So I pronounced it as best as I could.
Prefontaine. Yeah, sounds good.
By 1 p.m. the same day, the men had kidnapped another young woman and taken her belongings. They were still using Hannah's car, and they had driven a woman to a gas station in Breckenfell. Here, Whitboy withdrew 3,000 rand, which is approximately $308, from the kidnapped lady's account before they freed her close to the spot where they had murdered Hannah just hours earlier. Van Nieberg was dropped off at his home after the attack. So police were on the lookout for the men. And just before 2:30 p.m., Parsons and Whitboy were sighted in Hannah's car by undercover officers.
They're still
They,
in her car.
uh-huh, yeah, 2:30 p.m. the next day. Yeah.
Dumb sons of bitches.
They tried to escape down a private farm road, but after being blocked by a large security gate, they had no choice but to ditch the car and try to escape on foot. Multiple armed officers chased them down, and they were soon arrested. Over in Stellenbosch, Hannah's parents were left inconsolable by the news of their daughter's murder. And in the months after Hannah's death, as investigators built their case against the four men, Willem and Anna poured their grief into creating the Hannah Cornelius Foundation, which is an organization that helps children receive an education and escape violence within their community. I love when people do this.
Yes.
I hate that I hate that it took the death of a family member, but I love that people react this way to do stuff like that because we've talked about many cases like that.
Yeah.
So in May of 2018, the court proceedings finally began. The evidence against the men were solid, with witness testimonies, full confessions from two of the men, multiple CCTV footage, and even the rock that was used to murder Hannah being used as evidence. One of the most powerful moments from the trial was Cheslin Marsh looking the men in the eyes as he testified against them. He was tearful, but he remained strong with the help of his family and unwavering courage in the fight for justice for Hannah. Cheslin Marsh has remained traumatized from the events that night. He decided not to continue his studies after that.
Mhm.
In court, one of the four men accused revealed the desperate pleas that Hannah made to them before being killed. He said that Hannah had bargained with them, agreeing to let them sexually assault her if they promised her to live. How terrible is that?
Mhm.
How awful is that? Do what you want to me, just let me live.
Let me live.
It's frightening. During the trial, Geraldo said they believed had killed Cheslin and admitted to being the first one to sexually assaulting Hannah. Um, Despite all this, all four men pleaded not guilty to Hannah's murder. Fortunately, Geraldo Parsons, Eben Van Niekerk, and Vernon Whitboy would all receive life sentences, with Nashville Julius receiving 22 years for aiding a robbery and kidnap. All told, it was a combined prison term of 358 years.
Wow. So the fourth guy didn't get in the car. All he did was rob.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Because only
Um,
three of them could get fit in the car because it's a Golf. It's.
here, here, here's more of a testament to how much of a piece of shit these guys are.
Mhm.
They all showed no remorse during their trial and were even captured smiling and giving the thumbs up during the trial. One of the killers even turned up in the jacket that was stolen from Cheslin on the night of the murder. These guys are fucking idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not the sharpest tools in the sheds.
Um, Unfortunately, and here's where you'll see this. These men didn't just kill Hannah.
Mhm.
Less than a year after Hannah's death,
Mhm.
Anna Cornelius, her mom, walked into the ice cold, stormy Atlantic Ocean to complete her daily 7 a.m. swim, but never came back out.
Yeah.
Her body was later found floating in the shallow waters of Cape Town. Willem Cornelius believes his wife did not commit suicide, but that she lacked the physical and mental strength for her body to fight any currents, stating that Anna had become a shadow of herself after their daughter's murder.
Mhm.
More reports um, say it was suicide
Oh yeah.
over Hannah's
She
death.
just walked out into the ocean, kept
Hmm.
going.
Yep. Willem passed away at his home on December 9th, 2022. And you remember her autistic brother.
Mhm.
To this day, he still asks when his sister will be coming home.
When is
He
Hannah
doesn't
coming
he
home?
he doesn't understand why she's not around anymore.
Yeah.
So
Where's Hannah?
the these killers destroyed this whole family,
Yeah.
not just her. And I mean, it's terrible what they did to her, but in the end, they destroyed this family,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just
Well,
awful.
man, South Africa's just messed up anyway. It is.
I've heard that before.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
have
60 years of apartheid ain't good for anybody.
right.
We live in the South. I can tell you right now, it is not good for anybody. It makes people mean.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't have any personal experience, of course, with South Africa, but I have
yeah,
heard it can get pretty rough down there.
yeah.
Um, anyway, that's the story of the murder of Hannah Cornelius.
Right on. Well, thank you for that.
Terrible story, I know.
Yes, no, no, that's what we do. A little light, a little sadness.
Oh yeah, yeah. My stories are rarely uplifting.
Yes,
And this,
sometimes funny.
well, and sometimes, um, and like I said, this was a particularly tragic one because they literally tortured this woman for hours.
Yeah,
Her and Cheslin, really. They tortured them for hours and hours before killing her. And that's even the more horrific part of it is she had to suffer
yeah.
before her death. Suffer, not only suffer, but suffer in terror.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that's just unimaginable to me because she suffered through hours of terror, of stark raving terror. I mean, you would almost think somebody's body would give up at that point, have a
Yeah,
coronary, have a heart attack, something because
yeah.
of having to live in that much terror. And it's just, it's absolutely terrible. And that's one of the reasons I tell these stories is number one, um, especially when justice is served, I want to highlight the victims' names so that their name keeps going out there
Well, and
because a lot of
to the credit to the police, they were on it as soon as they found out. They were on it.
oh, they were. Well, it's not like she was just a missing persons. They had CCTV footage.
Yeah,
They were able to get quite a bit very quickly. Um, but the victims deserve their name to go out. These victims all had lives that were cut
hmm,
short. That went before their time, and it's truly sad. And I'm glad when there's justice. I hate when I have to end these with there's still no suspect that's been arrested to this day.
yeah.
I at least like these where there's been some justice that's been given. So Awesome. Well, that will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerdyandmurdery.com. That's our hub. That's where you can find everything about us. You can find links to our episode, pictures from our episode, as well as the link to our YouTube page, which Zig most often updates.
Yes, we do have a nice little music playlist. You guys should uh, throw that down and just listen to it. Just chill out. It's a good jam.
On our website, you can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdy and murdery fandom, please consider something from there. That, along with our patrons, you can find the link to our Patreon account on our website. But our patrons help with that, donate to this show, which help with the costs that are associated with this show, as well as the merchandise. There are costs that keep us on the air, to keep our uploads going, to keep our website, to keep our storage. It is completely not free, but and we do
Yeah.
appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. And last but not least, wake up, Chuck.
Wake up, Chuck.
With that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdering.
Cue the music.